Good evening. Welcome to #GotMoney. I'm Elizabeth Jackson. As you all know, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you anyway, I really love the affordable housing space. I really love clever people that are doing things to enable home ownership here in Australia. I want to introduce Kris, who's the marketing director of Assemble and Make, to #GotMoney because he's doing some interesting stuff. Welcome to the show.
Hey Elizabeth, thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So unpack it. What do you do?
Sure. So what we do is we provide what we think is much fairer access to really high quality housing for Australians. So, and it's come off a lot of research that we've done over the years on how people feel about housing and whether they feel like the housing market as it exists in this country is a market that's sort of been designed with them at front of mind, or whether it's a sort of market that's been designed for people with a lot of wealth or baby boomers or other generations that may have come before them that maybe got access to housing in a fairer way or an easier way. So and trying to understand what's the sentiment towards the market, and then how do people feel about being provided with an alternative option. And one of the big things that we have found for people that are in rental properties at the moment is the lack of tenure certainty is a big thing. So not being able to put down roots in a location, something that sort of bothers people because they may be nervous that the mum and dad investor that might own a home that they're living in, might have a change of mind and decide to sell the property, or might have children or something that get to university age and they want to move them into the property and keep the tenant out. So having to sort of move the next suburb over just to somewhere completely different gives people a bit of sort of anxiety about their housing future. So we sort of started speaking to people about saying, so how about if we gave you a really long lease as a starting point? How would that make you feel about your sort of housing future? And people said, oh, that'd be terrific, actually. So we designed an idea to give people a half a decade lease. And then said, what about the ownership piece? And if some people, the market's just daunting, and they don't sort of feel sort of comfortable participating in it, or they don't feel like it's designed for them. And we said, what if we pre-agreed a price today that you can buy the property for at the end of that lease? You don't have to, if you don't want to. If you decide you don't like living there, or you don't like that love the home or whatever, then that's up to you. But we'll give you the option to work towards a fixed price at the end of the lease to give you a sort of certain goal to work towards. So, and we'll support you during that period. So we'll provide financial coaching and other services to help you with forming household budgets, and sort of acknowledging that some people are more comfortable with numbers than others. So, I'm an engineer, so I'm quite sort of light numbers and budgets and those sorts of things.
Yeah, that's your get up.
Not
that's your
everyone's
get up
that
and
way
go,
inclined.
isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So what we basically offer is we've designed a product that we said, on average, assuming someone's sort of got not much money in the bank today, they'll need about 7 years to save for a deposit. So in advance of starting to build one of our projects, we give people the right to have a 5-year lease from the point at which it's finished, and then the right to buy it at the conclusion of that lease. So with the 2 years of construction plus a 5-year lease, that gives them about 7 years to start saving towards a deposit. And I guess the other benefit too is they sort of get to try out their home and community and decide whether we've done a good job with the quality that we've delivered for the property before they have to commit to buying it. So, and they're not locked in to stay there for 5 years. They can leave after 1 year or 2 years or 3 years if circumstances change. But providing a sort of lot of certainty around their housing future is something that we found really exciting. We've got a really engaged group of future residents for the first project, and they've all got we have financial coaching sessions with them already to get them into savings patterns and those sorts of things in advance of even moving in. But they've got a Facebook group, and they sort of share photos of their cats and dogs, and
oh, great.
whoever else that's going to be moving into the building. It's pretty cute, actually.
You don't look like a cat man, actually. I just wanted to put that.
I'm not a cat man. I've got a dog, but I'm good with cats. I just they're just not for me. So
yeah. So tell me what's unique about, so firstly, your solution's unique, but it looks
Yeah.
to me from the research that I've done that you're actually building communities. You're not just building properties, you're building a community infrastructure around that property. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so that's probably been the biggest focus for us. So we think we've got a really compelling, housing model that allows people to sort of access long tenure rental and then the option to purchase and sort of stay there forever, and that's all sort of good. But acknowledging the sort of lived life in the buildings the most probably important element. So we've done a lot of work with our communities team in here to design services that will provide to the residents during the 5-year lease. So we'll have on-site staff to help sort of organise little get-togethers and things, and to provide actually spaces within the buildings that allows community to sort of form in a more organic way. So we don't organise wine and cheese pairing nights and sort of force everyone to come along and sort of get to know each other, but we provide spaces like workshops where people can do little projects together, or fix a bike. You can help your neighbour fix their bicycle, or
That's
we've
good.
got multi-function rooms for doing yoga. We'll organise walking groups. We've got vegetable gardens and things on the roof, and pizza oven and those type of things. So it's just little spaces for, saying, well, we don't have to sort of force this community thing. We can allow that to develop over the long term. And I think people are really attracted to living in an environment where they think perhaps maybe the neighbours just got their back a bit more than maybe what they're used to. So we're really excited about that. And we've got a very broad demographic. So we've got the usual, the people that we thought, which were the sort of under 45s, who we thought would be sort of very attracted to this sort of city cosmopolitan lifestyle. But we've also got an emerging group of older Australians and a lot of single person households and things as well that are just at that sort of point in their life where they want to sort of, they've got a bit more time on their hands perhaps, and want to engage with their neighbours and communities a bit more. So, and so some of those, so there's a couple of women moving into the first project that we're doing, and they're sort of like the nonners of the building. So I think all the
They'll keep an eye on everyone.
yeah, they've got this
Yeah.
imagined life that they'll be sort of cooking lasagna for everyone on a Friday night or something. So,
Isn't that good? Gee, that's good.
it's pretty lovely, actually. Yeah. So that's sort of social sustainability of our projects is a big focus. So
That's such a good word. That's such a good phrase. Don't run away from that.
Yeah.
Social sustainability. That is such a great phrase.
You know,
Because
so
we
some
need that,
people,
don't we?
we do. That's just as our buildings perform extremely well with energy use and the sort of normal things that we look at for providing a sustainable home. They'll be warm in winter and cool in summer, and
What's your
it'll be a
energy
great
rating?
place to live. So we're at about a 7.8 star NABERS rating, which is extremely high for that's sort of around the building fabric and the sort of thermal performance of the building. So we're well and truly outperforming the market there. So we're fossil fuel free, so we direct purchase green energy from renewables producers, for example, and feed that into our buildings. So we've got all that sort of stuff covered, but the social sustainability of it and creating a sort of engaged environment. And it won't be for everyone. Some people just want to come home from work, go to their apartment,
and
sit
die
on the couch. Sit on the couch in their undies and watch My Kitchen Rules or something. I don't know, but but some people will be hyper engaged, and they'll be the ones organising the gardening group on the Saturday morning, and so.
Isn't that fantastic? God, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I was looking at that.
nice,
I was looking at everything that you were doing, and I just thought, gee, this is so fantastic. They did the 2020 plan, and when they outlined the 2020 plan, what they wanted were really great, walkable, sustainable environments that provided everything. And you've actually addressed that. You've actually leaned into that. How long did it take you to get to this point?
It's taken a while, yeah. So we've been working on the concept for about 4 or 5 years now. And the first project, the pilot project in Kensington's under construction, and that'll be complete in about May next year. And now we've got the second project, which is also in Kensington. We're sort of fallen in love with Kensington. We think that's a bit of a hidden gem.
It's a great area.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And that project's applications are open for that at the moment. So that's, we've had a really strong response from people that have sort of heard about the first project. And I think the first project was interesting because we're doing something new that people have never seen in the market before, and people are just naturally skeptical of something that maybe seems a bit too good to be true or whatever. But now they're saying that project's under construction and going ahead, and we've got a sort of full house there. The sort of certainty that gives the next group of residents to commit to our next project, is terrific. So that'll be exciting. So we'll start building that one later this year, early next year.
How many units? How many units in the new project?
Two buildings, two separate buildings of 100 apartments each, oriented around a central sort of courtyard park.
And walking tracks and things like that. So so I guess what I wanted to find out from you, so who determines the sale price? You determine the sales price?
We determine that and we disclose that to people today. So for the new project, we're telling people in 2028, you can purchase the property for this much. So you've got that fixed goal and that doesn't change. And we also tell people up front before they have to commit to anything exactly how much their rent's going to be for the 5 years, so they can decide whether they feel like that's good value, and that's just a market rental. And to secure their place in the building, all someone has to commit to is just payment of a 1 month rental bond. So you don't have to pay a deposit or anything like that to secure the right to purchase the property in the end. And that bond sits with the RTBA. So in the normal way, you get that bond back if you decide to leave after the first year or whatever. So the whole model was all premised on a sort of no downside approach. So saying, I don't want someone to be worse off financially as a result of this experience. I want them to have had a sort of better life with us. And if their circumstances change for whatever reason and they can't go all the way through to the purchase bit, then any money they've saved is just sitting in their account, and we'll just give their bond back as long as they've looked after the apartment, and they can sort of move on to whatever their next great adventure is.
So what's the future for you inside of this program? How many units like this do you want to deliver to market?
So we've got a big pipeline of pipeline's a very engineering term, but
it is such an engineering term.
I love it there. So we've got across Melbourne, we've got about 3,500 apartments across 10 locations, which sounds like a daunting number. So the option where we provide a supported pathway into ownership, we'll do about 20% of that pipeline under this model, where you get the sort of 5-year lease and the option to purchase at the end of that. The balance of the pipeline will be delivered under the social and affordable housing. So we partner with the community housing sector.
So this is what I wanted to ask you. Like you're a developer, right? So you're building. So I traditionally work in the off the plan space. So I understand that a developer sells off the plan, makes enough money to satisfy the bank, and then constructs. But you're going in with no liquidity. That's what it sounds like. And a whole bunch of people that are signing long-term leases. I understand that they can determine that as an income.
Yeah.
But that's a huge leap, because these are multi-million-dollar these are multi-million-dollar builds. These aren't.
Yeah, they're big projects.
We're like how you did that. Yeah, they're big. Yeah.
Yeah.
200 apartments is huge.
Yeah, and we're taking the market risk on behalf of our residents. But we're highly confident in the quality of the property and the sort of robustness of the properties that we're going to be delivering, and the experience that our residents are going to have, that if the people that have signed up originally decide for whatever reason they don't want to sort of purchase the properties off us at the end of the 5 years, then there'll be someone else sitting there that'll say, yeah, I'd really love to get in that building because, I've heard that, it's great quality, it's really stood the test of time, and, I've heard there's a really cool group of people that live there. So we're sort of confident in that, and the prices that we're actually setting for down the track, we actually feel like they're probably reasonable value today. So, even if capital growth moderates, and over the next sort of 7-8 years, then we're sort of confident that's going to look like good value in the future. So, but yeah, look, it's a much different approach, and that's probably been developing the concepts and the model and everything else has been time consuming at the start, and then it's then convincing value aligned investors and banks and things to support us in the delivery of housing that's just fairer for Australians. And philosophically, everyone's aligned with that. Everyone thinks that's great. Yeah, this is exactly the sort of housing that we should be. But then it gets given to,
A bank.
someone who, given to an engineer somewhere or a banker somewhere who are just focused on the numbers and the risk and everything else, and the conversation becomes more difficult. So we've had support from, the sort of CEO, deputy CEO level in ANZ, for example, sponsoring our sort of account through the bank, who supported us on the pilot project, the delivery of the pilot project. So, the banks sort of have their ups and downs, but they've been terrific to us. And we think we've got a much better offer to our future residents as a result of that. Plus, they're providing funding to allow us to build our pilot project. So, and then as we scale up, we're about to announce a partnership with one of the country's biggest superannuation funds, whose workers are sort of right in our hitting zone. So that's sort of low, middle income Australians are their members, and they see the development of housing options like this as being really applicable to their membership. And we deliver, stable long-term returns that they're nothing like doing off the plan. They're not the same sort of returns that developers and stuff generate for that. But we get a bit of rent, and then we get a bit of money back at the end when people buy their apartments. And
do you hold the owners corp as well? Do you keep that internally?
Yeah, so we run so I've got about 30 odd staff now, and a fair chunk of that's in the sort of property management space or community space. So we've got a team that look at what sort of community programming are we going to do. We've got a team that develop our bulk buying partnerships. So we've got bulk buying partnerships with Who Gives a Crap, Thank You Products, Go Get Car Share, Everyday Coffee, and we get our residents get 20% off retail value of all those products as a part of the sort of offer. So so all that's in-house. So there's no owners corporation fees or anything like that while people are leasing. It's just like a normal lease. But we've got full-time on-site staff, and it's a much deeper experience. So we're not going to go and do someone's dry cleaning for them, but there'll be someone working downstairs in the cafe who will have an assembled T-shirt on. They'll be able to say, you'll say, that's Elizabeth from 403. My kitchen tap's dripping a bit, Kris. After you've made my cappuccino, do you mind organising to get someone to go up and have a look at that?
This is so cool.
So, yeah, it's fun. So
it's so cool. You talked about doing some social housing with this affordable housing model. Is it going to be a mix on site? Are you looking at mixing social housing with this model?
So the social housing will be done in projects where the properties are only ever available for rental, have buildings where we sort of have half the buildings on this sort of 5-year lease with the option to purchase, and then the other half's just available for sort of rental.
Yeah.
But we do have some larger sites, larger neighbourhoods where we'll have a collection of, say, 5 or 6 buildings, and some of that might be 5-year lease with the option to purchase, and then 3 or 4 of the buildings might be social and affordable housing. So,
yeah, I think social housing and affordable housing has such a bad stigma here in Australia, and it's a real shame because you give these people a home and treat them well, and my Lord, they elevate themselves. They get there. They're just we've got to stop marginalising each other and thinking it's okay, because it's just not. I just think you're a champion. I just love what you're doing. Are you going to just stick to the apartments? Are you going to stick to the apartment space? Are you going to do? Is there an opportunity to do units or townhouses or homes?
Look, we think the models, our housing models are applicable to other formats. And at the moment, we're sort of focused on the apartment space because typically the land that's available for development in the locations that we're interested in, so with good heavy rail connections and some of the other things that we look for when we pick out sites, is apartments would be the sort of typical style of development that would happen there. That's what the sort of planning would sort of dictate. We had been approached for people to sort of go and look at sort of greenfields type subdivisions and things, and I haven't quite got my head around whether or not I think those sort of areas are appropriate for the sort of way of life that we're sort of advocating for, a sort of small footprint sort of living type approach. But yeah, look, I think the short answer is that our models could be easily transferable to other types of housing. But at the moment, we've got a pretty full workbook just delivering, what we've got on.
When you say full workbook, are you 5 years out, 10 years out? Where are you at?
So I think realistically, to get through the portfolio of neighbourhoods that we've got at the moment, future neighbourhoods, I think there's half a decade's work in delivery of those. Yeah, so
that's brilliant. That's so good.
But there'll be we'll be completing stuff every year, but it's just unrealistic to think that I'll get on and start building 3,500 apartments all at once across 10 sites. And
no, that's nuts.
All the NIMBYs and everyone else that we have to come up against every time we try to do a new project. So I'm jaded.
No, not at all. So yeah, listen, I think we need to do another one of these interviews in the next 6 months and see where you're at. Look, the other question I have for you is long shot though, real long shot. What about investors? I know that
buying apartments.
Yeah. Getting into the rent.
It's not really for us. So there's some. So with the 5 years, so people need to live there 3 of the 5 years.
Okay.
They can sublet for a couple of years. If they get offered the sort of dream opportunity and work to go and work in London or something for a couple of years, and we don't want them to miss out on those opportunities that could set them up for their futures. But this is really a product for owner occupiers ultimately. We think the issue with having investor-held apartments within our neighbourhoods is, the potential for Airbnb and
all of that, yeah,
disruptive tenants and stuff. I just don't think that aligns well with the way we want these communities to function. So I think then you sort of get a bit lost in the noise of what every other developer's doing as well. So
yeah, you just become like everyone else.
Yeah, at the moment they're really only focused on providing owner occupier type solution and lease with the option to purchase, or for people that buying is just always going to be hard. We'll give them 5, 10, 15-year leases so they can put down roots in a community. And we like the idea too that it's not just about what's happening within our building. Us providing long tenure housing to people will give them a greater propensity to engage in the communities that our buildings sit in. So there might be more propensity to volunteer. They'll be able to get children into school. They'll be able to get a relationship with a GP they can go and see for more than a couple of years before they've got to move again. Or it's all these little things that we think just really help sort of people's feelings about what their sort of future holds for them.
I was talking to an economist about the government opening up and allowing us to visit each other. And I said to her, you must be really excited about the economy and us doing that. And she said, actually, and she's an economist. So like you as an engineer, that's her get out of, that's her get up early in the morning thing. But she said, no, she said, the reason why she's so excited about it is it's all about mental health. It's all about having the ability to connect with each other. And what you've done is you've created a sustainable living environment that will allow people that normally haven't had the ability to connect. And I commend you for it. I think it's extraordinary. Well done. Well done. I congratulate you.
It's been good fun. So it's had its challenges, but
that's all the flattery you're going to get from me today.
So how do we find you?
Well, it's okay. You can stack that up for another this interview in another 6 months. So you keep that. That'll hold you tight for another 6 months. How do we find you? How do our listeners find you?
The easiest way, I think, is just via our website, which the URL's assemblecommunities.com. Or they can Google Assemble and we'll pop up. So they're not too hard to find. And then there's information on our projects on the websites. So it's probably the best way.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining me. You're a rock star. All the best. I'll talk to you in 6 months.
Elizabeth.
Pleasure.
Yeah,
Take care. Anytime. Bye.